Is this on my left side? Because my left side's my good side, so, or I guess it's my right side because the camera's reversed. So can you flip it?
So Dracos, tell me, why is this final so important?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple when you look at it. You've got Rogue, you've got G2, you've got Fnatic. It's just exciting.
And Ender is even back from the US, isn't he?
Oh, wow, Ender's back? Is he? I had no idea.
It's been a year since Reckless with My Heart. Was that the last time you guys saw each other?
Oh, you know, wow, that's a weird coincidence. Yeah, I guess that was the last time we saw each other.
Do you still follow Reckless now that he's in the LFL?
En vrai, je m'en fous un peu. I mean, no.
So why did the band break up, actually?
I mean, that's a tough question. How do I?
For the last time, Dracos, we are not doing another Reckless song.
But the fans love him.
No, stop. You're obsessed with him in a stalker kind of way, not the good way.
Guys, I'm not obsessed. I just think I came in like a Reckless ball is a great idea.
I'm done.
I'm out of here. Guys, no. Come on, Reckless ball. It was gonna be a hit.
Creative differences.
Yeah, this weekend is gonna be so hype. And it's really all thanks to Vedius setting this whole thing up.
Yo, is that you?
Yo,
Vedius,
how are you?
Oh boy, man, how are you?
I'm doing great.
That's good,
I'm doing
man.
great.
You look good.
Thank you. You too. I like.
Oh, hey, are you happy to be back?
Oh, I'm super excited. I've heard that, like, we're going even bigger. The fans are gonna go wild, you know, like a wildfire.
Oh, yeah. Betty, dude, you cracked me up. You cracked me up.
So happy my buddy Vedius invited me back for it.
Wait, what? I never invited Ender. He's the one that emailed me.
So good that you guys
Dracos. Dracos.
Oh, it's so good that you guys are both here. Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you both. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. We're like pretty tight on time, so we're just gonna go straight hair
What's,
makeup.
what are you wearing there?
We gotta get you in the hair and makeup like ASAP. Yeah, it's super important. Okay.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay.
Eyes front. This whole process gonna go real quick.
Dracos, why aren't there any mirrors?
Look, man, the technical difficulties. Okay, they're not working today. I got the idea here. Okay. Nope. Just trust the process, there, kiddo. Okay, wait, hold on, just a little bit more here. We're gonna go on that side. I'm really excited for what I have planned for the guys. I think they're gonna love it. Okay, guys, come on.
Dracos, it's very dark in here. I can't see anything.
That's fine. Oh, wait, here. Hey, ready? We're just gonna turn around. Camera, okay? Okay, guys, brace yourself for the best finals ever.
Dracos, is this just an excuse to get the band back together?
Guys, come on. We never even really broke up.
Oh my God, your eyes.
Your lips. Guys, it's gonna be great. Come on.
Dracos, the emo phase is over. We're done. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore.
Guys, come on. We got everything we need right here. Think of the fans. Think of Reckless.
I literally crossed an ocean for this.
You gotta feel kind of sad for the guy, though. And for myself. Wait, I think I'm just sad in general.
You gotta take that shit off.
Oh, yeah, that'll help.
Germany, home of the LEC and the 2022 Spring Semifinals. Dreaded run from it, but Fnatic versus G2 still arrived as a final spot, and a clash against Rogue tomorrow is on the line. I'm seeing the fans, but I'm not hearing them. So I hope that gets fixed, because the whole point of this is that they're back, but I think they can hear us, and I hope that they're cheering unbelievable. My name is Shox, and I'm joined by Ender and Dagda with Brogda. Broxa joining us this weekend as well, and we're super excited to welcome back the fans to the studio. The players will be playing in front of them today. It is the first time in over 2 years, 757 days to be precise, that we have fans in the studio. And Romain, he is dressed for the occasion.
Oh, he's looking fantastic. The fans are looking great. We got the skirts back here too with Carlos. It is all guns ablaze in there too with the muscle man himself. And I'm just so excited, like, to see the teams, to see the fans back in the studio. Finally, it's been killing me, and it still hasn't fully clicked for me just yet how insanely hyped today is going to be.
Dagda, thank you so much for joining us. We're really happy that you can join us for what hopefully is going to be 2 5-game series.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this, especially like LPL being delayed. I was like, please, just let me see what the LEC has to offer. And I mean, you've lined up a banger.
Yeah, no problem. We just, we got you in since you have nothing to do now with the LPL being moved. So let's talk about last weekend, because G2, they took the lower bracket by storm. They went 6-0, and they eliminated both Vitality and the Misfits. And before we dive into how impressive that all was, I do also want to say goodbye to those 2 teams, right? Dagda, Vitality, the hailed-in super team, unfortunately couldn't make it work in time.
Yeah, I mean, it looked really good for them when they were playing against G2. I mean, they got these early leads, 5,000 gold, and then mid-game decision-making just fell apart, constantly getting picked off in side lanes. It just felt like Vitality really couldn't get themselves in order when it got to that mid-stage.
Yeah, and in a way, this series sort of like perfectly encapsulated how their split went, right? Where you can see the individual talent on the roster, but the mid-game problems were persistent throughout the regular season. So many times they threw away these massive leads, and to sort of see it come in like game 3 especially for G2, I feel like that Vitality roster has to take a good long look at themselves after their performance of the split.
And I think even the surprises that we saw in that game against G2 as well. I mean, Broken Blade getting the better of Alfari in that top side. He was popping off. It just really felt like we never got to see Vitality kind of get themselves properly set up. And I mean, for a super team, as you say, that you had such high expectations, to see them drop now just feels sorry to see.
Yeah, especially that game 3. Wow. Yeah. But we have to give it to G2, right? They overcame Vitality, and then they went straight into another best of 5 over the Misfits. And that one is so hard for me to talk about, because Misfits, they obviously had a great regular season, right? They made it to the 3rd place, but Dagda, nothing of what worked for them worked in the playoffs.
Yeah, it really just never came together. I mean, obviously the whole plan coming in from G2 was we're going to focus Video. We're going to take this guy down. You even saw with that game 1 draft, right? The Rumble, the Jarvan being there as well. They were focused on, we're going to kill this Zoe. We're going to put him in the dirt and make sure that he's not able to have these magnificent performances that we've seen in the regular split.
Yeah, and in a way, this was like the worst stylistic matchup Misfits could have gone against, right? Heavy mid focus, top side focus against a struggling Herit. So it's sort of hard to like look at Misfits and go like, yeah, figuring out some way to adapt and overcome G2. It didn't end up happening, but still, I think the building blocks of a fantastic team were there for Misfits. They showed it all split long, and I'm very excited to see what they have for us in summer.
I think it's good that we look at it that way. They had 2 rookies on the lineup, right? They replaced their superstar jungler with Zlatan, who had a great regular season, but couldn't quite make it work as much coming into the playoffs. And I think that goes for all the players, to be fair, but that doesn't mean that they didn't perform and deserve that 3rd place coming out of regular season.
Yeah, because I think you look at that series versus G2, and it wasn't like one player like underperforming like in the jungle or whatever. Like, it is how G2 played as a team, and I think it's that cohesion in a best of 5 series, being able to, focus on a lane, punish mid lane, and sort of carry that through with like support roams, jungle ganks, all that stuff.
And it actually felt like the first time in playoffs I got to see, well, G2, right? Because in the Vitality game, they really struggled in game 2 and game 3 in the early stages, but this was G2's playground. They came in with a plan, they were able to execute it well, and as you say, playing through that mid jungle, playing towards top side, getting picks, that's what G2, I wanted to see from them all playoffs long.
And that's why they now find themselves also in finals weekend, right? The lower bracket buff in full effect. Fantastic. G2 versus Fnatic today. But first, this season, we've added a new name to the rich history of EU mids, a player who challenged previous generations like Caps, Perks, Humanoid, and Larson to new heights. We are excited to reveal the 2022 Spring Regular Season MVP.
Light breaks through the darkness, they are fires in the night. Nothing can break us when we ride. Firestorm is coming. We run on the edge.
1 kill down, that's the Aphelios. Jesse trying to run away, but he's just being jumped on. The face melters that we talked about, and it's going to be 3 more kills. Make back on top of this. Cernus goes in with the Shuriken flip. The Indian exhaust down, but 2 kills going straight over to VTO as they try and make this one work. Will he get a third? Yes, he will. It's a triple. Who knows it can happen? The hook, line, and the kill.
We run on the edge.
TV now coming in as well. They've blocked it. They're looking to pick off a single member from the Vikings. Kicks off. It's big from VTO with the CC immediately from G2 to stop any. VTO's behind him. Prediction! The biggest brain we have ever seen. VTO
coming in. It was a flawless exchange there, taking down Limit as well.
VTO on the way. Subjugate Shadow Surge. Oh, Dale just gets deleted! He just deleted where he stands. Yanko stepping forward, get excited, VTO dives in, the final chapter, they're going to be able to take down one target next on the menu and VTO takes them. G2, once again at the mercies of this Akali. Dives onto Caps, Blackhead next up, Target's with a good hook, Schlatten falls off by Broken Blade, VTO will take another. He has the Kempunk chainsaw, but he is caught out and even with the charm. What was VTO? Remember the name, put respect on it. Whoa, what? Yakos is dead! Yakos is dead!
Bow down to King VTO. His name in his OPG is 2022 MVP.
That is our 2022 Spring MVP, and Kato said it, VTO changed his name to that before the season started, and we heard rumors all through when he joined the scene already of how hardworking he is and how much he really grinds to get to that top spot. Broxa, it's really crazy to see his development and to see him crowned MVP this split.
I feel like every season there's always 1-2 rookies that really step up. Well, not rookies, newer players that step up, that really shine on the big stage. In this split, that has definitely been VTO. He's been a big part of why Misfit made it so far, why they look so strong in the regular season. And I think for most people it was between him and Huli, but he really deserves it, and I'm very happy for
it.
It
definitely was. It was actually 126 points to VTO and 123 points to Hilly, Doug. That's so close.
That's insane. I didn't realize how close it was. But yeah, I mean, look, VTO has been absolutely incredible all regular season long. Like, when you look at this guy, the impact that he's had on Misfits, the ability to try and play through that mid lane, especially like Schlatten being able to work off of VTO's pressure. And then you start to move into how well he dominated team fights, that massive comeback that G2 had that was focused around him on that Akali. This guy's just been insane.
When you look at the definition of most valuable player in order for the team to get the wins on the board, I don't know if we've ever had someone who embodies that like as directly. And it is so difficult to become an MVP of a league when you're not in like the top 1 or the top 2 teams of that league, right, Broxa? So what a beautiful MVP to have.
Yeah, I feel like it's interesting that finally we have an MVP that's not from one of the top teams, someone who was on a team that many didn't rank as highly throughout pretty much the entire split, but then, you know, he just steps out, goes big, and yeah, for once it wasn't someone from the typical Fnatic G2.
To the usual suspects, let's put it that way. Also, Misfits picked up both individual titles. Schlatten won Rookie of the Season, and for his regular season, that is super deserved and impressive as well for a rookie to do what he did with that team.
Yeah, and I like Schlatten is a guy that I was kind of watching coming up from EU Masters as well, because you had those incredible performances where he was able to like play towards his lanes, make sure that he's setting up for clever invades off the priority that they had, and that's exactly what we've seen coming into LEC as well. This guy's been so creative in the way he's been able to play off of VTO's pressure, he's been able to work off here, it's in the top lane, and Schlatten, like, he has looked impeccable this split.
Yes, he has. Congratulations to Schlatten and to VTO. Unfortunately, they don't find themselves in finals weekend, so let's dive into the bracket and who we have left standing. Now, in the upper bracket, we had Europe's 2 best teams last Saturday crashing. Rogue completing the reverse sweep and advancing to the finals tomorrow. Super crazy that Rogue was able to grab that momentum, overcome that 0-2 deficit, and now is waiting in the finals, Broxa, to see who they will play.
In my mind, one of the most important things for Rogue, one of the biggest takeaways from that previous matchup against Fnatic is the fact that they were down 0-2. They managed to go for the reverse sweep and actually bring it back, because I know as a player, when you've been in situations where you know you've struggled in the past before, for Rogue in particular, usually good in regular season playoffs, not so much, but now they've showed that for themselves, most of all, that even when things are not looking great in playoffs, they can actually turn it around and now in the final, no matter if they, get a lead or not, they should be pretty comfortable.
I think it's also incredible to see kind of the adaptation that Rogue have brought to their draft as well, especially when you look at it like Larson in that mid lane. Like, he'd only played the Silas, I think it was 3 times before that series. I think he'd had 1 win and 2 losses. Like, to then bring it out in that situation where your back's against the wall and then absolutely pop off on it, like, that speaks volumes to this kind of new Rogue and what they're capable of in the finals.
Also, a bit of a shout out to the 2-time coaching staff, right, of the split behind them, because as you say, completely different strategy. Obviously, Broxa, you don't come into this and not expect to play different styles. I hope, if you're a pro team, although Fnatic, of course, kept doing the same thing. But how good is it for Rogue that they were not just able to overcome the momentum shift and complete that reverse sweep, but also do it by showing different looks?
When you play those best of 5s, that's when you can really showcase that you're not only a good team, but you're a great team, because you need to have that ability to actually adapt and improve once the series progresses. Sometimes it's like, you have a certain meta that you practice in scrims, and then everything changes on stage. And Rogue, they were down, they found Fnatic's weaknesses, and they were able to push them to the limit and actually come back. And for Fnatic, it's like the opposite story, right? That today we're going to need to see that they can actually adapt, and that once things are not working that way, they can find a way to get back on track.
Must have been a wake-up call. Final shout-out I want to give to the Giga Chat, Malrang. Twitter was ablaze with memes about how he played, and I think all season we heard also from other junglers saying he's going to get figured out. This Feast or Famine playstyle, this doesn't really work out, Dagda, but he has kept making people turn their heads and pay attention to his performance, and he is in the finals.
Yeah, and I think he's been absolutely insane. I mean, the ability to continually find these ganks, and even when you think, oh, well, all you have to do as a jungler is track them, try and lock them down. But what Malrang's actually been really creative at doing is saying, okay, well, jungler's on my side of the map, but if I can just get to that position faster, well, then it doesn't matter. Your teammate's already dead before your jungler gets there. So for Malrang, I've just been so impressed with how well he's been orchestrating himself around the enemy jungler, but also just what's available on the map.
Super impressive by Malrang and by Rogue. They are waiting in the finals. That's tomorrow, though. And I also want to jump into a thing that is a little bit more fun, although the whole show is fun. That was a bad segue, actually. So this weekend, everyone at home, as well as the fans in the studio, you can play along with LEC Bingo. Now that's fun. We're getting a bit older, so obviously we love playing bingo. The first 30 people who send in a correctly filled out bingo card to discord.lec.gg, you will all win a prize. I'm going to read some of them to you. It's here behind us as well. But which ones of these do you think will be like the easiest to get us a bingo? The fastest?
I mean, there's one there already you could just start it off with if you wanted to.
Humanoid dies in the side lane. That happened a lot last week.
Well, I was going to say it starts with success if you wanted to.
Silver scrapes might be the hardest to attain.
True.
Yeah.
I was about to say I'm just going to fully tunnel vision on the silver scrapes.
It's also in the middle, right?
Just believe in the silver scrapes. That's what we all want, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Thank you for our lovely assistant also for showing everything. But also audience chants heard on the live stream. If that doesn't happen, I'm literally going to tear this up and go home. I hope that you guys make a lot of noise. Super excited for that. But yeah, a base race. Baron is going to get taken. Base race, silver scrapes. There's a pause. No. Please not. Oh, also, I forgot to say, but me saying all these things does not count towards your bingo card. This is literally just me saying the category. So discord.lec.gg, get your bingo card. And here we go. Good luck and have fun.
So, right now, it's time to look at the mid laners that are left in the league, because we have 3 really strong mid laners, and we're going to look at all 3 of them first. A mid laner that I've had the honor of playing with, it is Caps. Now, Caps, ever since he came into the league, has had a very unique style. He's very strong mechanically, he's very aggressive, he's vocal, he's good to get his team to play around him. And I feel like this split, he's not been quite as consistent as he has in some other years, but at the same time, he's had some pretty key moments where he was actually able to step up.
Yeah, and even if he hasn't been super consistent, he's still having that team play heavily around him, right? Like, try and have that mid jungle pop off, then move that pressure up to Broken Blade in the top side, and then you've got those invades where they like to look for these picks with Caps, and it still feels like he's been a core part of this team. And you could see that one of the big things when he was playing against Fnatic, when he's playing against Humanoid, was, hey, look, we're actually going to try and shut that down, limit that mid jungle interaction, and that's why I think we saw Humanoid have such a good game on the LeBlanc against them.
Speaking of Humanoid, Humanoid has been a really interesting mid lane in the past couple of years. Some think that this is the new Caps, so to speak, because obviously he looked very dominant last year on Mad Lions, winning 2 splits. Now, after joining Fnatic, a lot of the Fnatic players have been vocal about how good Humanoid is, and not only in terms of the gameplay, but also his shot calling. And I feel like it's been pretty clear that Humanoid has brought this Fnatic to a new level, Doctor.
Yeah, he kind of feels like the puppet master in behind the scenes, where he's kind of dictating a lot of the stuff from the mid lane, how they interact on side lanes. And as you say, like, people have been very vocal about what he's brought to Fnatic. But one of the big things that we saw was when they went up against Rogue, that he just kind of got shut down. Like, not having that interaction, going like 0-2 in the TF in that game 5, it felt like Larson really was able to take over control for him, and kind of like, as a man who has a lot to prove, he definitely proved it against Humanoid.
Oh, definitely. And at last, of course, we have Larson. Larson is a very interesting name for me because last time I was playing in the LEC in 2019 summer, that's when Larson joined Rogue's LEC team. And back then, he was one of the new guys. He, you know, had some inconsistencies, just like most rookies, but then with time, he managed to evolve and has become one of the most dominant, one of the most stable mid laners we now have in the league. What do you think about Larson, Doctor?
I mean, that guy's been popping off. I absolutely love the fact that we get to see things like the Lucian from him, like the things like the Silas that he brought out, like moving away from these control mages. He's been absolutely unstoppable, and it feels like, especially as he's the only person on this screen right now that hasn't won an LEC title, it looks like it's his year to try and take that. And when we're looking at guys who've been popping off, earlier this week, the latest edition of the Pop Quiz was released on the LEC YouTube channel, and without spoiling too much, one certain mid laner did quite well. So let's have a look at what's gone on.
I'm gonna play some champion quotes. They're all from Pick and Ban. Oh, okay. Most are picks, some are bans.
Pick and Ban. Oh my, okay.
Oh, I'm really bad at this.
Do you play in English?
I sometimes play in English, sometimes in German, sometimes in Chinese.
I think somebody already is like getting the settings, and you know, I never know what setting it is.
Okay.
I'm actually good at it.
I can never resist an invitation to dance.
Who dances?
Who dances?
Champion dances.
Okay, champion that dances.
Aurelia?
Okay, is it Jin?
I think it's actually Samira.
No idea.
I have no zero clue, like.
I don't know. Zaya.
Saya?
Shaya.
Is it Zaya?
What's Zaya?
Zaya.
Oh my god, yeah, true.
If you're buying, I'm in.
I think it's Miss Fortune or
Olaf?
No guesses?
No.
Oh, that's Mundo.
Not
No.
Mundo.
Wait, it's Gragas.
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 Gragas?
Gragas?
Gragas.
Gragas.
That's Gragas?
Yeah, Gragas. I'm also in if you're buying, buddy.
Gragas.
Gragas.
Okay, correct.
Nice.
Now, hear the silence of annihilation.
German?
Wait, it's so obvious. Ah, this one's hard.
Is it not Jin?
Karen. Cassidy.
Now, hear the silence of annihilation.
That can still be anyone. Velkos? Set.
Not Set.
Okay, he's not Set.
Wait.
Aatrox?
Yeah, correct.
Aatrox.
Aatrox. Aatrox, maybe?
Atrox?
It's Aatrox, I guess.
Atrox?
Correct.
Really?
Yes.
I flipped it so hard.
The guilty will know agony.
You try to get in the character.
Agony. Oh my god!
Ah, my brain, please work.
Is it Evelyn?
Garen?
The guilty will know agony.
I can't think of any other.
Oh, this is so familiar. Set.
Wat is dat?
Guilty will. Actually, Varus.
Varus. Varus.
Oh my god!
Oh my god, okay, my brain lag.
Neither the flames nor the depths could claim me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh? Debs, what's going down?
Damkens.
No.
I don't know.
Is it Rek'Sai?
I don't think Rek'Sai speaks. She just does monster sounds.
She does the. Oh my god.
Me? Oh yeah, Pike, no?
Not Pike.
No Pike?
Neither the flames nor
Ah,
the
GP.
depths. Yes.
I'm trolling so hard. GP.
GP.
Oh, it's GP.
Oh, Gangplank.
Gangplank. Correct.
Oh yeah, he's a pirate.
Oh yeah, I mean, oh my god.
Last one. I'm not big on sermons. Broken bones teach better lessons.
Someone that
hits people?
Lee Sin.
Oh, why? Who beats people up?
That sounds like Poppy.
Oh, why?
Not Vi. Yeah, this one is the hard one.
Oh, this one's a hard one?
Darius.
Just skip it.
No idea.
I don't know. Ilawi.
Who the plays Ilawi?
Ilawi?
Correct.
Nice.
Ilawi.
Correct.
Really?
Yes.
No way.
That's 2 points.
Tato Sissy.
That's the...
How good I did it.
I think you were like...
I mean, I was average.
As well, amazing. I'm just really happy that everyone is as happy as we are to get started. So I hope you got your snacks, because now we are going straight towards that first best of 5 of this finals weekend. But we want to start by going back a little, walking down memory lane, because I have a perfect guest for that. Broxa, who's gone through so much with Fnatic, and we wanted to talk about our favorite G2 versus Fnatic memories. We're going to start in 2018 spring, Broxa, because that was truly a super important moment for Fnatic.
Oh, definitely. Before 2018, 2016, 2017 that I was part of, G2 was just a better team and we never really found a way to overcome them. But then in 2018, finally in spring, we got back on track. We found a way to really play as a team. We started coming together, and then eventually we made it to the Copenhagen final, played G2, Fnatic won 3-0. Beautiful moment for a lot of Fnatic players, of course. Players, fans, organization, everything. It was just beautiful all around.
And I guess different for the different players. For you, like your first championship, and then some other players who'd been fighting for it for so long.
Yeah, for sure. Like us new guys, me, Caps, Bwipo, we were just so excited that we were part of something that big, and some of the older guys, I know they've kind of been longing for that moment for a while, like the Reckless, the Soas types. They've obviously been on that big stage with a trophy before, and it was not only my eyes getting teary, those old guys did as well, for sure.
I can understand. That was also your home turf, of course, in Denmark, but it didn't just stop there in the spring playoffs. It happened again in summer, and then you actually made the world final, something that hadn't happened for a European team since season 1.
I still can't describe how surreal it was making it all the way to the world final. Not only like making it there, but making it after all the previous years where it felt impossible to beat Korea. I still remember my first Worlds in 2017 where it was so clear so early into our boot camp and into the tournament, talking to my teammates as well, that we just had to play as well as we could, but once we met a Korean team, it was over and we would get knocked out. But then in 2018, somehow that changed, and all of a sudden we made it to the final against IG. There was no Korean team anymore. We had beat IG in the group stage, and it felt winnable all of a sudden.
It did feel winnable, and that's where we're going to end that memory,
we just
unfortunately.
skipped the rest of the story.
Winning that final was a bridge too far, but yet all in all, fantastic year for Fnatic and for Europe, right? You were ending it on a high. We get into 2019, and G2 is never someone you can count out, right? They're always going to be dangerous, and that 2019 game gave us so many interesting games, specifically the last week of the regular season, the base race. Can you set the stage for us?
Oh, for sure. So, of course, when you're a Fnatic player, playing G2 is always the biggest thing you can imagine. Even in the regular season, that's where all the hype lies. And in this case, we were playing G2. It was a very close, intense game. And we're right at the end of it. Hylissang just takes over, basically solo carries the game in my eyes. He was playing Rakan. He split pushed on Rakan, something you never saw at the time, took the enemy bot inhib. While we are on our way to do Baron, all of a sudden we are worried, like you can hear it in the comms, like, oh no, are they gonna backdoor? What should we do? And I don't think you hear it in the voice comms, but Hyli was like, Martin, Reckless, come with me. We're going right now. We need to backdoor. We need to make this work.
What an amazing moment. And
definitely.
Hyli there, an MVP performance, even then in 2019. So let's relive that moment with the voice comms of that final moment of the game.
Okay. Defend, shoot, just TP on the wave, just TP on the cannon, maybe?
I'll TP here, I'll just TP here,
Yeah,
okay?
1 minute, that's all we need,
They TP'd with Rise.
Just do it. Can they backdoor? Can they Rise with to mid?
I think it's okay.
If we don't get that running mid, they're going for backdoor.
Yeah, they're going for backdoor.
We're going. Me and Jarvan are going.
Five.
They didn't make it, but it's fine.
They didn't make it.
We are still stopping them though, we are still trying to stop them.
I can stop this guy, I can stop the GP.
Okay, Lucian and the other guy.
I can also actually I can.
Please, Healy.
I can't stop that.
Keep healing. You have it.
Go! Oh my.
What a great memory. And you cannot hear it actually, in fact, Hyli calling. So I'm glad that you explained the situation to us for that.
That was such a great moment. And I'm going to be honest, I got goosebumps again now, even just watching that, because you can hear as they are moving into the base, Reckless is like, please, Hyli, come on, Hyli, please. Because Hyli was the one making that big call, and obviously he just trusted him right away, because, you know, Hyli does Hyli things. That's why it's been in the MVP conversation, and that special call just won us the game.
He still does Hyli things. Now, I think in terms of our storytelling here with the rivalry, it was all Fnatic, right? 2018, even that part in 2019, but it's about to turn around. It's about to go really badly for Fnatic. In fact, in the summer playoffs, you lose twice, 2-3, including a reverse sweep in the Kings match. What a shocker.
Oh, definitely. Like, they stole our mid laner, they stole our glory, our trophy, and in the 2019 summer split, it was such a close battle between us the entire time. We were up in 2 series against them, and it just didn't matter. They always found a way to come back, and then right now we see it on the screen, like those sad faces from Athens. those are not memories I want to relive too much, that's for sure. That was a tough time to be a Fnatic player losing to G2 2-3.
Fnatic and those reverse sweeps, what's going on? There wasn't even a monologue back then. In any case, we do have to then, of course, also talk about how G2 was just so good in 2019, right? And you say it there, they made changes in the roster, and they were just pretty much unbeatable in Europe and for a long time also in the world. There's
no doubt that picking up Caps was so huge for G2. Everyone spoke about it at the time. I think he got MVP in his first spring split on the lineup as well. Like, they all of a sudden had, you know, the 2-star mid laners of Europe and Caps and Perks on the same team. And he was being so aggressive, and it just worked so well with the rest of the lineup. They pretty quickly managed to find a style that works for them, and the rest of us just had a hard time keeping up. I don't like admitting it, but I guess that's sadly the truth.
Unfortunately, the way it was, 2020, of course, came, G2 was back on top, but then 2021, we don't talk about Fnatic or G2 that much because someone else took the title. In fact, it was the Mad Lions, and that makes us come here to 2022. The stories of these two teams, which is really the story of a rebuild for both of them, going for pretty big changes coming into the 2022 season, starting with Fnatic, who, even though we called Vitality the super team, might have been the real super team.
Yeah, it's like the pre-season expectations, I think, were Vitality and Fnatic. Those are your 1 and 2 teams. Fnatic bringing in Razork, obviously super promising jungler when he was over with Misfits, and more importantly, Wonder and Humanoid in the solo lanes, 2 championship solo laners. For Fnatic, this was a year about getting back on top, and they've delivered so far.
And how did the season go for them, Broxa, with this new roster?
I feel like so far it's been a good Fnatic season, and at this point, with the moment we're in, I feel like this is where we're really going to see how it's going to go for them, because you could consider this a good old super team. Often in the past, super teams haven't really worked out too well, and I feel like Fnatic overall has been a really solid team, but at the same time, now is when the pressure is on, and we need to see if they can actually perform under it.
Great point. We have that sour note, of course, of the Rogue match last time around, but G2 Esports also went through a rebuild of sorts. They kept, of course, their strong core of mid and jungle, but we saw Broken Blade in the top lane, and for the first time in G2's history, very young players picked up for the bot lane.
Yeah, it's almost like they got a little bit in a time machine. We're like, let's go ahead and recreate 2018 G2, where it's like promising bot laners, but it's really all about the top side and that trio on the top half of the map. And I think that, again, for this team, expectations were a little bit lower, I think, with this bot lane, not really knowing how they were going to fit. But I think those 2 players in particular have continued to elevate their play over the course of the season. And now for G2, anything they're able to do, making a top 3, that's within the realm of reason. Anything more is exceeding expectations.
I feel like it's so interesting, because if you look at G2 and Fnatic, they've kind of swapped roles this year, where before G2 would always be the team to pick up the proven players, the strong players, and build those super teams. Fnatic would be the ones giving rookies a chance. But now, G2 took the gamble on the rookies, obviously. All of them have stepped up massively, and I'm so excited to see if they actually can match up versus these veterans today.
And I love how you set that up a bit earlier. This is now crunch time, right? The playoffs are crunch time, and now you're in that direct elimination game. You want to make it to tomorrow. And of course, we've seen Fnatic versus G2 in these iterations already in this playoffs. Fnatic beat them, G2, 3-1. And I feel like we're going to get into 2 kind of looks of Fnatic. But let's recap a little bit, Ender. What was it that made Fnatic so much better than G2 that first time around we saw them?
Yeah, well, I think initially, like especially in the first game, we saw Fnatic going into fights around Dragon much stronger. I think their setup and specifically trying to pinpoint and attack FLICKR in the back line just looked better than G2. G2 were often putting themselves in these positions where they were sort of trapped in pit. FLICKR didn't really have any protection for him, and he got punished for it. So I think Fnatic's team fighting overall around objectives looked better.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like most of the games, the first time they met G2, actually were in a position where they could easily win, you could say. But then Fnatic, as you said, always the better team fighting team, always found a way to come on top in the mid game. And I think that's one of the things where G2 is going to have to prove today that they've actually improved on. Obviously, they have just won 6 games in a row, but they also played against arguably weaker teams in Vitality and Misfits. And now, big boy Fnatic is back, and you need to show that you can, match them.
Yeah, I think we also saw some like really big picks from Fnatic too, like Humanoid LeBlanc, the Volibear for Razork. Like we had a lot of like very active early game champions, whether it's roaming mids or laners that you can play around too, and that looked really good in Razork's hands.
It all worked out, and I think a lot of the fans and the analysts' expectations were then Fnatic, they're off now. You know, they're going to put up a great performance versus Rogue the next week, which they did until game 3. It was a completely different side of Fnatic we saw. What happened, and how come they couldn't overcome Rogue last week?
I feel like this is this is one of the really interesting things about playoffs comparing to the regular split, because now it's a best of 5 and you need to be able to make those adaptations throughout. And obviously Fnatic, they were in a winning position. They probably should have been able to close out the series, but when it came to the draft, Rogue had a good game plan. They adapted, Fnatic didn't, and then eventually they lost.
Yeah, and specifically like Rogue were like, hey, let's leave the Twisted Fate open. We have this great counter of Sylas in the mid lane, and then all of a sudden we saw kind of Humanoid go a little bit absent in a lot of those games. Rogue teamed up with very strong roaming supports. That was an adaptation they made, and active early game junglers. And I think that we saw, again, a little bit less active early junglers. Rogue were able to play around mid lane a little bit more, and Fnatic sort of stepped off the gas in that regard. So I feel like for Fnatic, sort of ceding a little bit of pressure and roaming from Hylissang in the early game cost them in getting those early advantages.
And I'm really happy we have 2 junglers here, and especially also Broxa as a competitor, because the read from a lot of people was, well, the Volibear got banned out. Razork had a harder time putting the influence on the map that he liked, which of course is not just a Razork issue, I think, and you're the jungler. So can you shine some light on how such a simple ban away could change the whole dynamic of a team, and are you surprised that they couldn't overcome it?
Yeah, there's no doubt that Razork has been one of the inconsistencies on Fnatic this split. And actually, I feel like, sure, it's easy to go and blame everything on Razork, but I also feel like often the jungler is going to be the one to kind of, how do you say it, the jungler shows the level of the team as a whole.
Right.
So if the team is playing really well, if they're well coordinated, if the synergy is on point, jungler is going to look amazing. And maybe that's the case. Like maybe once Fnatic got ahead, they got a little complacent. Their game planning started getting worse. They just couldn't come together as a team. Still, of course, Razork on the Volibear found a lot of openings in the early game that he didn't find in the other champions. But even on other champions, he has been able to show up in some games in the regular split. It's just that now, hopefully they've been able to use this previous week of practice to actually prepare something else to get those early advantages.
100%, because it's all about the moving pieces behind it too, because all of a sudden after the first 2 games, we had Humanoid not roaming quite as much. We had Trimby matching the roams of Hylissang, and for me it was kind of like that battery of jungle mid support that Rogue completely leveled up in the last 3 games, and that's where the adaptation never came through from Fnatic. Whether in picks or in play, they were not able to get pressure from those other roles to support and enable Razork like they did in the first games.
That brings us into a twofold question, I think, coming into this. Have they recovered from that, and have they added things that they can be more adaptable if that happens again today versus G2, possibly tomorrow versus Rogue? That's for Fnatic. But on the other side of today's matchup, Caps talked to us earlier this week about his mentality coming into finals weekend.
So I think last year was kind of hard on me.
And rip away any hope they had of making it to Worlds. Fnatic will join Mad and Rogue at Worlds for Europe, and G2 are going home.
After Season 10 Worlds was the first time that I did worse, so to say, than my previous years. We lost in semis, where previous years I made final. And it was the first year where we actually just were deciding to decline compared to always just going up. And in Season 11, I just wanted everything I could to change it. But I think I ended up trying too hard. I tried too hard to change and make sure that I was on top, that it just slipped away from my fingers. And I realized that the reason I'm so good is because I don't try that hard. I put in all the hours, of course, but I am fine having fun on stage. I'm fine picking something troll. I'm fine having like a troll, like some troll food or just anything that I do. It doesn't have to be like always 100%. I can just have fun with it, you know.
They do not know that Selfmade's there. Control ward now going down as the dragon is started up. They're going to start it on it. Jankos looking for the steal. Caps! Oh, no! But wait, does Caps steal that from over the wall? He gets the Hextech Soul for G2.
So this split has been awesome. I think I've realized a lot of my errors from last year. And now with having a full new team with fresh start, it kind of It resets all the memes, resets all the interactions. I get to learn, I get to be with new people and learn how they think and how they act. And it's just a nice experience. It's making solo queue a lot more fun, scrims a lot more fun. Everything in my life is just more fun, which is obviously when I feel like I can perform the best. Winning is kind of everything, because fun is everything for me. I like to have a good time, and when I'm playing against great players in playoffs in EU, or when I make MSI and play against all these legends, that's when I have the best time. Last year I just didn't have that. I was just sitting at home, I was not having a good time, and I just want to have a good time.
Always interesting to hear from Caps, a veteran still hungry for more LEC titles. Last weekend, they convincingly took down Misfits in a clean 3-0 sweep, and I'm here to break down a little bit of what they executed on their map movements from that game. In this clip, I want to take a look at how G2 did a better job in their later playoff series of overloading one side of the map and creating uneven fights for their opponents. This is something G2 do a lot to try and bypass those full team fights, and what I want to do is start by looking at where Jankos is. So Jankos will spot that Neon is very much overextended in this top side. You've got Mersa, who's a little bit close as well, which does help him a little bit, but G2 want to try and pounce on this. They know that Neon has no flash because there was a fight there just moments beforehand, so they want to try and make him the target. One of the big things to note as well is that because they had that fight just beforehand, they've got some really nice vision. There's also one that's just on Mercer that you can't see there as well. But they have some great TP wards for Broken Blade, and that's what they're really looking at here. So they also are looking at, if we bring up our mini-map here, gotta clear that, where the other members of Misfits are. So we've got Video, who's pushing in this mid lane, which means that he's going to take time to try and get to that top side as well. And if you look at here as well, he's pushing in the bottom lane. He's going to need to commit his TP there. So this is where we're going to see G2 make their play, where they try to overload very quickly one side of the map. You're going to see Broken Blade TP onto that ward that we already looked at. And one of the big things to note as well is, as FLICKR and Caps look to join, by moving in through River, they cut off Video. Video now has to go much further around than he would have liked to try and get to this fight, so G2 are able to keep so many more members than Misfits on this top half, and it just creates this completely uneven skirmish on which G2 are able to collapse. Because they win this fight, they're also able to then move back into the barn, and this is something that G2 did really well against Misfits, and I want to see them try and continue to do this against Fnatic here today as well, because one of the big things, as Ender pointed out, the team fights for Fnatic were so much stronger, and I really think that G2 taking these uneven fights is probably the best way for them to avoid that.
I think that's a great point. You also talked about positioning specifically for their marksman, but also Targamas in that series versus Fnatic. How much improvement did you see versus Vitality and Misfits? And do you think that is something that they can replicate, knowing that obviously Fnatic is also fantastic at those team fights?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the improvement I saw from G2 wasn't necessarily in the team fight itself, but the setup, right? Because against Fnatic, they were often like hitting objective first, sort of containing themselves in the Dragon Pit or Baron Pit, and in these situations they're collapsing on side lanes or they're collapsing on the opponents taking the Dragon. So I think a lot of it comes down to choosing when you go for the fight, and when Fnatic coming in on them, that was a problem. When G2 get to do it themselves, it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think so as well. More than anything, it seems like they just needed a go button, you could say. Someone to say, guys, now we're going in, and then they just jump right in there. A comparison could be Excel at the start of the split, where after Mickey joined, all of a sudden they were a lot more convincing in the team fights, and that's one of the things Mickey said he brought to that team as well. Now G2 look a bit more convincing. When they go in as a unit, and they're just not sitting around the corner waiting for something to happen.
And that's so key when you come into these playoffs, where it's so much about the team fights, and always very important in the team fights is what your bot lane can do, especially your marksman. And I wanted to bring up FLICKR specifically because he has had, I want to say magnifying glass on him, but that's not true. He actually didn't have a lot of spotlight on him, but he's still been quietly doing his job. He barely died, of course, also last week. And when it comes to such a team fighting meta for such a young player, he is so instrumental, especially if you know that on the other side, we have Upset and Hilly.
Yeah, that's exactly what you need, right? When you can avoid getting dove in the backline, I think the team stepped up behind him as well. I feel like for G2, if this guy can show up and do his job, not fall behind in the laning phase, like he is a very strong team fighting AD carry as well. So he and the rest of the G2 can really thrive in that.
And I think FLICKR as well even said that he was like, more comfortable playing against Fnatic in the bottom lane. They thought that they played the bot lane reasonably well, and I think if you're able to shut down the pressure from Razork and you're able to shut down the pressure from mid lane, suddenly that becomes so much easier to actually play out that 2v2 in the bot lane, because as you know, it's never just 2v2 with Fnatic.
Yeah, it's so funny too, because I feel like G2 don't put a lot of pressure in the bottom lane. Like one of the things I noticed when they played versus Fnatic is like you'd have situations where their top lane is like building up a stacking wave, while FLICKR has a wave coming into him, and you sort of have to ask the question, like, do we go in top lane to try and snowball, dive, wonder, or whatever, and risk falling behind in bot lane? And G2 were making that decision. G2 were saying, yes, that is what we do. And we had, FLICKR and Targamas falling pretty far behind because of that. So I think that I would like to see a little bit less of that, of course, depending on matchup, and G2 making smart, informed decisions of which side of the map to play.
And supports will be instrumental in that. We have two supports on their hands who love roaming, right? And I think it's fair to say, Brock said that when we compare Hilly and Targamas, Targamas is more about roaming only. When for Hylissang, I also think about the lane prowess. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that's going to be really interesting when talking about Hyli in particular is which version of Hyli we're going to see today, because Hyli in the most recent series against Rogue didn't look quite as convincing as it did in the regular split, and I think more than anything we've seen from Fnatic that they need that bot lane to succeed, to actually have a good game. They've been a little bit one-dimensional in that sense, and I think if Hyli has a good day, if he's able to win the bot lane, get unlocked and start roaming around, then Fnatic is going to have a good edge.
And I think on the flip side, Targamas is someone who stepped up massively in that role. Like when you look at them from playoffs, you didn't actually get to see a huge amount in the regular season, you didn't get to see a huge amount of roaming from Targamas. But in the last couple of games, he's been popping off. He's been all over the map and making sure that he's there to support his team where they need it.
A lot more of what he used to do in the ERLs as well, right? He never knew who his ADC was, is what I heard from Trouble in that regard. Let's talk about the mid lane as well. Humanoid versus Caps, the current champion versus the former champion. And Dagda, if I look at it, I kind of feel like Caps had a quiet regular season, peaking into playoffs, whilst Humanoid, who had a pretty strong season, has fallen short, specifically versus Rogue last week.
Yeah, I think looking at Caps and the Fnatic series, I was kind of surprised by the picks that he brought out. Like, we saw the Karma come out, but we didn't really see them play for team fights. It was still this more kind of like, hey, we're going to overload and pick someone on the side. And it kind of left them a little bit lacking in the mid-jungle 2v2. Then you look at game one of the series, they were playing like the Lissandra Lee Sin, and that didn't really work out for them because we actually didn't really get Jankos playing around that mid lane. So I think for Caps, I mean, if he's able to get that jungle attention from Jankos, I think this will be a lot easier, because as you said, in the Rogue series for Fnatic, I mean, Humanoid getting that attention from Malrang was where the whole puzzle fell apart.
Yeah, and I think too, like sort of looking at this matchup, like I see so much similarity in how Caps and Humanoid historically have loved to like get out of mid lane, collapse on side lanes. The last time they faced off, I think they were sort of like trading sides of the map where Caps was running top side, Humanoid was running down. But in a matchup that is so swingy, I feel like having mid lane with Prio to team up with jungler and hit side lanes is so key.
Can I smack you with a one-liner?
Oh. Hit me.
Not really smack, not the Oscars after all. But between them, these two mid laners have won the last 8 titles in Europe. I mean, of course, it is skewed a bit in the favor of Caps in that regard, but I think it just says so much about the matchup today. And as we are getting closer to the games, Laure is joined by Fnatic's coach, Yamato Cannon.
Thank you, Shox. And Yamato, thank you so much for joining me today ahead of this series. How do you reflect on last week? River sweep, I guess it's not the result you expected, but what did you learn from this loss?
In the end, like whether it's a win or lose, everything is experience. And, this whole week was to make sure to frame this reverse sweep, to make sure that it was the best possible thing that ever happened to us. And coming into the finals weekend, how you move into it, that's the only thing that matters. And history is history. Yeah. Experience is what matters.
And you learn a lot from losses like this, especially. What are the takeaways from the series itself and the improvements that you had to make from it? Yeah, I know you.
It's always a minefield, the questions. Of course, I know that you need to dig, but on our end, it was just a reflection of all of the pillars that that showcase themselves within a best of 5. Adaptation, energy, mentality, all of it was put to the test, and it allowed us to truly review everything. So I feel like coming into this weekend, we, revised everything, and we feel, more adjusted in terms of what we want to be and what we want to achieve.
Right. Very nice to hear, facing off against an opponent you know very well here in the likes of G2 Esports. What's your take on the team? Because they went 6-0 so far in the loser bracket, but it doesn't feel like they were facing off against the best teams per se. Do you think we've seen anything from G2, or are they hiding something still?
I think momentum is definitely a powerful thing. Like in no shape or form are we underestimating them or expecting the same G2 that we faced the last time. There's some tendencies that tend to die hard, and I think they've done very well in terms of making sure that their team environment seems good, at least from the outside. They seem to always be having fun. There's something powerful about them, but in the end, skill is what matters and performance is what matters. And I think now when the boys are going to be up against the wall and knowing that losing today means that they're going to go home, we're going to bring a totally different fire, and I hope that we can crush them even harder than last time.
Do or die, as you said, but we get to have this rematch in front of an audience for the first time in 2 years since we had COVID. Any thoughts on this matchup and also playing in front of an audience again?
It's exciting. I missed it a lot. I think, it was at its worst when I had to do the games in the office. It doesn't feel the same. I couldn't even listen to the boys. You didn't really feel the same way because as creatures, we adapt to our environments, and on the stage with the fans here, me being around for a very long time, our players having so much experience, this is how we feel at home.
Exciting day ahead. Yamato, thank you so much for the
My
interview.
pleasure, thank you.
Shocks, back to you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I can also see how excited you are with the atmosphere in the studio. Always a class act coming out of Yamato. Not showing us cards, but saying, obviously, we picked up things from that loss. And I feel like this one is so hard to call with everything that's up in the air. So I'm going to ask my analyst. Predictions for today. Fnatic versus G2. Ender, kick us off.
Call me crazy. I'm going a 3-1 to G2. I know they lost against Fnatic in round 1, but I think the adaptations they made last week are looking strong. And we're not going to have the same problems in the team fights that we saw previously. I think they're going to have a much different draft coming around this time and a very different game plan too.
I'm going to root for Fnatic in this case. I think Fnatic should have what it takes to actually make a comeback. I really liked what Yamato was saying, that more than anything, they look at this as a learning lesson and opportunity to reflect and improve and find out what needs to be done. And I feel like an organization with so good structure behind them, with such a good coaching staff, veteran players, they should be able to figure out the drafting problems and be able to really step up.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the League of Legends guy, not the Valorant guy. So 3-1.
Look, Fnatic are winning Masters, okay? It's not today.
But yeah, I think the biggest issue for G2 is trying to stop the Drake stacking that we see so often from Fnatic. I think that's where the real problem is going to be, because then you get to force those team fights where G2 don't look as comfortable. And I think that's where Fnatic takes
Okay, let's see what Discord has to say. I think it's going to be a close one. Discord 3-2. So in the studio, how is it? Cheer for Fnatic win? And cheer for a G2 win? All right, I think that says it all. I hope we get the full 5 games, if anything, to reward you all for coming today. We are only a few minutes away from picks and bans. The players are getting ready. I hope you are ready as well. We saw you clapping. We saw that you are ready. But Fnatic versus G2 Esports. Another page will be written in the history books tonight. Who will advance to the spring finals? Let's get into the action.
Here we are, the final week of spring, with everything on the line for the last 3 teams.
I'm really happy we have a second chance for the title, and hopefully we prove ourselves again and beat G2.
I really want to beat Fnatic because of what they did after the game against us.
Oh, that's the shoot!
Each of these teams was gutted and built anew at the beginning of this year. They have proven to us that they will still deserve to be considered the best in the league. But no one player on these rosters will be satisfied with anything less than hoisting the trophy.
Winning spring would mean a lot for me because obviously I never won a split, and I think I'm way too good to never won a split. The moment he doesn't view himself like that, he'll just gonna play like and I think FLICKR is gonna show him that he's gonna play like Even though we lost, it gave me a lot of confidence, so I could, play like I played this week. Me and Targa were like way more prepared than we were last time.
But now Perks is not with the team, and because of that, G2 see Perks alone. Splits around the side, they're going in now.
That's the engage, Cataclysm into the ultimatum, knocking out members of Misfits. Neon is down and so is Schlatter.
G2, dread it, run from it, but once again they reign supreme.
Playing when there is no plan B, when there is no losing bracket, the games are way more like do or die. So for sure, like these games are very exciting.
Upset flashes, goes down, and now the Fnatic in the advance truly begins. G2 routed.
Just too strong. Damn, it looked good, but it did not matter.
Fnatic showed they continue their winning ways.
This is about the pride of who chose the correct team and validating the belief of their fans.
It might be upset against me, but I want it to be FLICKR against the world, you know, against Fnatic, because I think if you win in that matter, it's really going to shut them up, you know.
So Fnatic loves to go bot. They don't know if we'll counter it by also being bot. They don't know if we'll counter it by ganking top. They have no idea, and we know exactly where they'll be.
Playing against Caps is always exciting. I feel like he is G2 right now, and I feel like they need Caps to be ahead to win the game.
I don't even consider it not making it to the finals.
The job is not done, and we still need to manage to win this, because all of it won't matter if we're not gonna win the finals.
No one expected the team to come back after losing what many have argued to be their best players. Not only did they shut down the disbelievers, they rallied together with new members.
This year, even though you replaced the LEC MVP, the fact that we're still here in the finals is kind of speaks to the level that they're bringing.
Oh, there goes Drake! He hits two members, that's the guy who goes a big damage! Oh, that's the flank of the century, but it doesn't find the target. Fnatic holding their own in this fight, upset no flash, and Odo knows it. The focus, but here comes Gnarl, here comes the re-engage, and that's the wombo we talked about. Fire rains from the sky as Comp Game 5, absolute victory over Fnatic as Rogue move on to the finals, as Rogue will be the final boss in the LEC.
Going to finals wouldn't mean much to me unless I win it, and I would really like to bring G2 back to their throne.
If we get to the finals, it would be amazing to play in front of a crowd once again, and I really hope we get there and experience that feeling again.
People put me off so many times of winning the trophy, and it happening after 8 years of my career would be kind of crazy.
But only one can be called the best. Find out who it will be this weekend. Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else, we are live in front of a studio audience for the first time in 757 days. Just before we carry on, I have to do this. This isn't in the script, but Berlin, what is your region? Oh, God damn, it feels good. Okay, let's get serious now. It is my pleasure to present to you the ultimate European heavyweight clash. This is the longest standing rivalry in Europe, and both combatants are looking for a shot at the belt. The title, or as I would say, the crown! Introducing your fighter, wearing the orange shirts in the blue corner, the oldest heavyweight organization in league, weighing in at 7 LEC titles, 2 world final appearances, 1 world championship belt. It has now been 4 years since their last LEC title, and they are back to reclaim the throne and return once again to that legendary legacy. They were the second seed going into the LEC Spring Playoffs with a regular season record of 13 knockouts, 0 draws, and 5 losses. It is my pleasure to introduce the forever fan favorites that fancy a fortuitous face-off versus a feared foe forthwith. I present the true European super team, Fnatic! Their opponents, wearing the black and red gear, starting in the red corner, weighing in at 8 LEC titles, 1 MSI title, and 1 world final appearance. This team has half the professional experience and a third of the years of Fnatic, yet they have won more bouts more often and are the truly undisputed kings of Europe. Stepping onto the stage with a perfect record of 6 knockouts in round 2, they look to avenge the scorecard defeat to Fnatic. Berlin, I present to you the bad boys of League, the supervillains of Schengen, the gamers who are samurais too. It's G2! 2. Gentlemen, let's make this a clean fight, and Berlin, let's get ready to trundle! Fuck yes!